Good evening, dudes and dudettes. It is Friday night. It is 9 o'clock. So you are seeing this week's version of the Dudes After Dark DAD pod. And we got a real good one here. We got Damon and Johnsy coming in here. Johnsy, first time from his new studio. Excited for that. Big day for him. But we also have a big guest tonight, Frank Addington Jr., also known as the Aspirin Buster. I've known this guy for over 12 years. This has been way overdue. I'm so excited to introduce you to what a good dude this guy is and what an amazing story he's got. But first, let's get into it right after this. Let's go.
Welcome to the Dude Network, where we chill and unwind. Food, sports, entertainment, the best of its kind. Grab your buddies, have a seat, let's have a good time. 4 nights a week, we'll make sure you feel just fine. Join us as we dive into the coolest trends. Dude Network, where the fun never ends. Dude Network, where the fun never ends. Hanging out with the dudes and dudettes. Talking about the things we love, no regrets. Tune in, relax, and let the good vibes flow. The Dude Network, the place to go.
Good evening, gentlemen. Yes. We made it another Friday. Not really.
Absolutely. You know. It's been a hot one, though.
Ooh, yeah. Well, not now. It was a beautiful, fingers crossed.
Here we go.
Degrees today.
Oh, my gosh. 77 degrees. I told you the other day, I'll buy 77 degrees.
Right. I know where you can. I know a jump where you can find it, D.
No, that's an $8 ride.
It's worth it though. You said you'd buy it. A couple tanks of gas.
Well, I mean, that is a tank of gas. I mean, there you go. All right, well,
there you
go. Too soon.
Oh man. But guys, I'm like real excited about this one here tonight. Yeah, Frank Addington Jr. is a guy I've known for over 12 years. So I've been a long part of his evolving journey. A dude that's out of West Virginia. Originally born and raised, now lives down in Texas, and is literally, from what a couple minutes before the show we were talking to him, sounds like he's been a well-traveled dude that knows a lot, and excited. I mean, he's going to have a lot to share with us. But I called him the Aspirin Buster, and that's like, what does that mean? Well, we have a clip here. Let's just show what Frank does and how amazing it is, and then we're going to get to know the man that is Frank Addington Jr. That's 3. That was 3, and I believe those were baby aspirin, not just regular aspirin, baby aspirin. So
insane. Yes, I was sitting there watching it, and I don't watch that thing 3 or 4 times and still can't get over it.
I mean, I was up there on the stage with him once when he did it, and like, there was like chips missing out of the aspirin. Like
I don't really.
It's insane to think about 3 at a time from behind his back.
Yeah,
that's bow.
That's the thing. Is like, I mean, I could shoot a bow pretty decently, but it's one arrow the way you're supposed to. You know, I got all these bells and whistles to help me do it better.
I can't even do that. That's debatable for me. But a man that can shoot a bow at a target from probably 800 yards away, from behind his back, with his recurve, Frank Addington Jr. What's up, buddy?
How y'all?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing
Always
good.
better on your company, sir.
Yes, sir. Good to see you again.
I know, man. It's been too long, but man, you are just. You know, I didn't want to bring you down. You were doing so good. I didn't want to just bring you down to my level. I figured I'd just leave you up there, you know, with the birds.
Baloney.
Still got it, Frank. I still got it.
I'm just grateful you agreed to come on after knowing this guy for 12 plus years.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he might bring some Morrison hot dogs from Logan, West Virginia.
Those
are the hot dogs.
Yeah. Frank known me
let him
long enough.
down. You let him down.
Yeah,
he
one
knows me long
job,
enough.
Tony.
He knows me from my old Stevens Auto Center days down in Danville, West Virginia. Logan, go Wildcats! But yeah, no, I've been trying to explain to Damon and Johnsy here, about, I guess like how it all works and what you do, and I guess no better to explain it than you. So Frank, I mean, I don't want to make you go through like a whole biography here, but talk about your journey and like how you at least got started and how you ended up shooting a bow from behind your back in front of crowds of people and some of the shows that you got to do.
Well, Tony, I'm a firm believer. I met a blind artist one time. This guy was amazing. And I mean, literally was legally blind, but he had this beautiful art. And he had an American Eagle, and I bought the Eagle, took it home to my office, and I was staring at it, and I noticed when he signed it at the bottom, it said HTTMH, and then his name. So I couldn't figure that out. So I wrote it down, and I took it back to the show the next day. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, I got a question." He said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "What do these initials mean?" HTTMHA. And he said, "Well, Frank, I'm blind." And he said, "The art is beautiful. It's his talent through my hands. His talent, the man upstairs.
Absolutely.
His talent in my hands." So when I was born, I had a very sunken chest. It was caved in, pectus excavatum. And in those days, late 60s, when I was born, they didn't have the technology or the ability to. Nowadays, they have a bar that they put in the chest and pop it out.
Right.
That didn't exist back then. And if it did exist, the doctor that did my surgery wasn't aware of it. But they told my parents he's got to have the surgery. If he doesn't, he'll live to about 12 and then it'll be done. His lungs and heart will literally outgrow his body, and the ribs will puncture. It wasn't a pretty story. So they went in, cut me open, 4 years old, 1971, did what they do, sewed me up, and they told my parents he'll always have underdeveloped lungs. His lungs will never fully develop. And his heart's tilted a little different than everybody else's. But, other than that, we did what we could do. But don't ever let him wrestle. Don't let him play football. Don't. Whole list of things I wasn't allowed to do. When you're a little boy in West Virginia, football, basketball, wrestling, all that, it's all part of who we are, right? And so I couldn't. I was sidelined before the game even started. I couldn't do anything.
Right.
But the man upstairs had a plan, and he said, "Well, I'm going to give him these eyes, and I'm going to see if he can use them." So the eyesight, Dr. Richard Rashid in Charleston, West Virginia, just about dropped his clipboard. My eyesight is 20/8 in each eye, left and right. 20/8. What that means, I see at 20 feet what a person with 20/20 vision sees at 8 feet.
8 feet, yeah.
So I think the American Eagle is 20/5 or something, but 20/8 is as good as the human eye's ever been registered. I mean, they tell me that's 1 in a million eyesight. Fighter pilots, 2010, 2012, 20/8 is just unheard of. And when I picked out my wife's engagement ring, Amy at Delphine's Jewelers in Charleston, West Virginia will tell you, I could see pockets of carbon with my naked eye in those rocks, in those diamonds. Wow. She was using 10X. And I say, "No, I don't like that diamond. It's dirty." She said, "What do you mean it looks dirty?" I said, "No, I see at 3 o'clock, there's a black speck. I don't want that. I want something that looks good." You know what it costs to get a diamond that doesn't have fluff? I mean, it was crazy. It's one time I wish I was blind.
I was going to say, man, sometimes it's like, you know what? You're right. What spec? Yeah.
My buddies would get engaged and bring their girl to see me, and I'd look at the ring. I wouldn't say a word. I was like, he should have spent more money. But anyway, I could see the the flaws.
Yeah.
And which brings me to number 2. You got to marry a pretty girl when you got eyes like that. You cannot marry an ugly woman with 20/8 vision. It just, luckily, her vision isn't 20/8, so we're good. but anyway, so that's what got started. Was God gave me me the talent, the eyes. 1971, after surgery, after I recovered, my dad took me in the backyard, handed me a fiberglass stick and some cedar arrows. And he said, now what you're going to do, you're going to stand like this. You're going to draw the bow back and put the pointer finger in the corner of the mouth. You're going to look at your target and you're going to let the arrow fly. And that was, now 54 years later, I'm 58. I'm still doing that. I'm still looking when I hit, drawing it. I don't draw like that. I go behind the back. But, 1971 is when it all started. Growing up, there was a guy named Stacy Grosscup, famous shooter. He was in the Guinness Book of Records. He shot 7 aspirin tablets in a row with a bow. He was a Methodist minister from Morgantown. And he did shows. He was a preacher by trade, but on weekends he would go do performances. And he would perform at sports shows. And anyway, as a kid, I was his thrower. And Tony, nothing ever happens accidentally in this lifetime. And the reason I'm saying that, fast forward to when I turned 18, Stacy took a Pepsi can at my dad's shop. He was going. He lived in Morgantown. We were going to the Milton Pumpkin Festival, and he shook the last drops of soda out of a Pepsi can and said, "Get your bow." And I've been shooting a bow for 14 years. He tosses the can in the air and said, "See if you can hit the can." And I shot through the red dot. This was 85 or so. I hit the red dot of that Pepsi can and centered that target. And he said, "Today you shoot with it." I'm shooting regular. But what's weird or ironic, so he's who put me on stage and started all this. But a lifetime earlier, my dad, when he was born, Reverend Grosscup, Stacy's father, baptized my dad. It was in his baby book. Reverend Grosscup baptized Frank, gave him a silver dollar. And then they moved away. But how ironic, and my dad didn't even remember that. It's because he was born. He was a baby, an infant when they dedicated him. So he didn't know. He didn't remember that. Right. But that's Stacy's father. Then that plays out that so many generations later, Stacy's my mentor with this exhibition stuff. And he throws a can. I hit it. That day, he put me in front of an audience. And that's how the exhibition stuff got started, that exact day.
Nice.
That's awesome, man.
That's a lot.
And Damon, John, what you get? Yeah, I'll keep talking, so I got to shut myself off. Let get me guys something open here.
When did the behind the back
Okay.
Yeah, because that just blows my mind.
Well, what happened? I was young, and I wanted to. There were 3 of us actively shooting. Now you got to remember, I don't have any YouTube. There's no internet. There's no.
Oh, nothing.
There's a lot of people doing wild stuff with bows on the internet. But see, I always say to people, I need to see it live because tapes can be dubbed.
Yeah.
Tapes can be edited. I want to see live people in front of a live audience on a stage with my eyes because, back then there was only 3 of us that were pretty active shooting aspirin. That was Reverend Grosscup, Byron Ferguson, and myself. And Stacy was my mentor. But in 1990, I wanted to step out away from him, not to upstage him, but to show him I was following his tracks. So I went and hit a baby aspirin, shooting regular. Right. And I was the first of the 3 to do a baby aspirin. And I called him up and I said, "Stacy, they micro thin coat the big aspirin so they don't powder, but the baby aspirin are chewable.
Yeah.
So there's no coating and they puff. There's a puff of smoke."
Mm-hmm.
Well, within 2 months, he was hitting baby aspirin, and then Byron did a baby aspirin. So I told my parents, these old guys keep stealing my thunder. So in 1994, at the Charleston Sternwell Regatta, a guy named Kenny Vance was throwing for me. And I did one shot a show behind the back. It was an 18-inch disc, big foam disc. And I always pinwheeled it. I always centered it. And I think it's because of my chest structure. I can perfectly draw the bow.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I'm taking handicap or disability and turned it into a positive.
Right,
so
right.
I'm able to pinwheel that 18-inch disc every time. And I would put a Hoyt Apple sticker on the center of that. And 9 times out of 10, I would center that sticker in that black bullseye of that phone. So at that show, I told Kenny, I said, throw a smaller target. So we went from the 18-inch disc down to the 12-inch, down to the 8-inch. Then I did a foam apple in the air. And then I did a lifesaver. And I said, get the baby aspirin. He goes, really? I said, yeah. Now, I missed it twice. The third shot hit the baby aspirin. Third shot. And, gentlemen, that's when my dad had basically been paying me on his payroll through the retail archery business, Addington's Bow Hunter Shop in Winfield. He was paying me to do these shows because it promoted the name, promoted his business. Mm-hmm. When I did that shot, the shows took off. We'd already been nationally, but I did that shot and it was like everybody paid attention. Yeah. Early 2000s, we went to New York City. Early 2000s, we went to New York City. Jeannie Most with CNN covered it. I went to LA, and in LA, there were all 6 LA TV stations videoed that shot, 2-minute stories on all 6 networks in one day. That was 100% coverage.
Yeah, that's a ticket writer right there.
Yeah, it's everything. People began talking about it. They didn't believe it, and half the people that came were doubting Thomas's.
Yeah, there's no way. There's a trick to this. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. So I started letting the shows provide a thrower. See, I don't use a dedicated thrower. That's the other thing. I let the show throw.
That's more.
I was the thrower one time. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, I like to do that because then they witness that there's, because I got to be honest, I had a dedicated thrower for about the show's 40 years old. So probably the first 12 or 15 years, I had one guy. Well, I knew where that pill was going to go before it went. And so it was easier with my own thrower. But one time he couldn't go to a show, and the janitor of the building threw for me, and I hit 3 out of 5 shows were first shot with the janitor. And I said, from now on, when he, because he had gotten married, had a baby, his wife didn't want him on the road. I was doing 30 shows a year.
Right.
That's a lot of travel. So he couldn't do it. So I said, okay, fine. I'll just fly myself. And I had 3 sets of gear, and I would mail one to the East Coast, one to the West Coast, one kept at home. And I'd just go show to show to show. And I wouldn't meet my thrower until showtime. And there was no smoke and mirrors, no tricks, just pure shooting.
That's wild.
Man. I mean, my dad, or my buddy's dad, is a hell of an archer. Like all these Robin Hoods and ping pong balls from this distance, but that's all one arrow at a time. The way everybody's taught to shoot an arrow. When I saw this all behind the back stuff, I just could not believe it.
We've done it on behalf of 2 presidents. Toby Keith, when he was alive, he saw it on YouTube. You know that song, "I'm Not as Good as I Once Was"?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a line in that song that says, "I still hang out with my best friend Dave." Dave is Dave Milam. That was Toby, and Dave's still around. It was Toby Keith's road manager, Dave Milam. Dave calls me up and says, "Hey, Toby wants to see you do what you do." I said, "Oh, great. I'm going to be at the Dixie Deer Classic." He said, No. You come to Toby. He's performing in Columbia, South Carolina. He's performing in, I forget what it was called, but some arena, Columbia, South Carolina. And I took the show there. And we set up backstage. We set up backstage of his show. Toby, his bodyguard, his road manager, a lady from CMT TV, and a guy from the Special Forces and his family. It was like this private audience. We did the show. I ate dinner with the band, and then I went out and stood with Jason, Toby's bodyguard, and watched the show from the wings. And we stayed in touch. When he came to Charleston, I went up, and they put my wife Amanda on the stage dancing around up there behind Toby, and it was a friendship until he passed. I mean, it was cool. Done a lot. Toby had a bow. I gave him a custom bow, and he had that hanging on his den wall for years.
Oh man!
Giving George Strait probably two or three bows over the years. I love giving famous people bows because when they do archery, it puts a spotlight on archery and gets more people interested.
Yes, right.
You've always been with Hoyt, right?
You know, I went on Hoyt's original. I knew Earl and Ann Hoyt, and then they sold out to Easton Aluminum, Jim Easton. And when they sold out, Joe Johnson was the first president. Joe put me on their first pro staff in the 80s and literally traveled with me in shows in Virginia, North Carolina, probably about 87, 88. So that's in my first 2 or 3 years of shows. The president of Hoyt flew out here and traveled with me, and he said, anything you need, you call us, you got it. And they've made that relationship. Like Earl Campbell, the football player. I did shows for Earl. He did a big gala in Austin. I did shows for him, and I said, hey, Earl's interested in archery. And they said, okay, we're going to build you 3 bows and give Earl and his 2 sons bows. George Strait, we're going to send you bows. If I tell them I need it, it arrives. I mean, I left Hoyt briefly in 2003. Matthews Archery had, so Earl Hoyt had a recurve company. He sold it to Easton. That was Hoyt. Well, after he had an agreement with them, what's it called? Where he wouldn't build bows for a while. When that expired, he went back in the bow business, and his company was called Sky, S-K-Y, Sky Archery.
Okay. When
Earl died, Matthews Archery acquired Sky and brought it to Wisconsin to the Matthews factory. My dad at Addington's Bow Shop in West Virginia, he was the #1 Matthews retailer in the United States in 2003. So we were out of 1,250 accounts. A little shop in Winfield, West Virginia was #1. So I thought, well, geez, I better start shooting Matthews because that's what my dad is selling. So they had bought Sky. The president of Matthews and all these people talked with me. So I went over to Matthews. But, you know, that ain't a bad run to have been with Hoyt all those years. You know, from 85 until 2003. And then I was with Matthews from 03 to 09. And then in 2009, I was at a show, and the president of marketing at Hoyt, you know, you go in a men's room, and when there's an unspoken rule when you're at a urinal, you look straight ahead. You don't look left. You don't look right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, I'm at one urinal, and down the row, about 4 urinals, is the marketing guy, Mike Looper. I call him Super Looper. And Mike goes, man, we miss you at Hoyt, Frank. I said, well, you know, Mike, it's like home, and I miss it too. And he said, come back. And I said, okay. So literally made the deal at a urinal in the bathroom.
That's dude approved right there.
And I went back to Hoyt.
Got a shake on it first.
And I went back to Hoyt. So out of 40 years, 34 years of 40, I've been with Hoyt.
Wow.
Long time.
Awesome, good for you, man. And that's the relationships it's what it's all about. It's easier that way for sure in business whenever you can find a good partner to work with that you can trust and go along the whole ride for. Yeah, go ahead.
They built me a special bow, but I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it.
That was my question. I was going to ask, are you just using one of their bows, or did you kind of work with them to design one that fits really well for you?
Well, no. I just take a Olympic style bow, and my dad custom builds a rest for me so I can do multiple air shots. So we take one of their high end, you know, it's probably about a $1,500 or $2,000 bow, and I torque it a little for what I do. But in 2020, and I don't know, Tony, if I'm allowed to say what I'm about to say, so you can stop me. But Don Trump Jr. asked me to do some speeches, and we were on Sportsman for Trump. So Hoyt built a one-of-a-kind Trump bow in 2000. And I don't want to get into politics because I know people from all politics come to my shows. But it was an honor. It was an honor to have this one-of-a-kind bow. I thought it was pretty cool.
That is cool.
I mean, yeah. It would be cool almost under anybody.
Yeah, I mean, just to have that experience in general, you know,
right.
Any of them is just a surreal experience, 100%. So you've been all over. Damon, do you have any questions? I want to switch to
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna. I'll kind of stick right there in the same area. You know, all of the shots that you've done, was there ever one that you just couldn't get nailed down that you wanted to nail?
No, because I'm stubborn, dude. I don't quit.
I know.
My wife will attest to this.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's because I crawled back from death with this chest, or
Right.
I was on life support in 2017, and they thought I was dying. I got some down here in Texas. We have a ball pollen, and I blew them into a pile, mulched it, and then I dumped the mulch bag into the dumpster, and I got a lungs full of that, basically fungus.
Yeah.
Up with a 64 oxygen saturation, driving around, and I mean, I was functioning, but basically was a walking dead man. I ended up life support for 4 days.
Oh,
and they brought my wife an end of life decisions book, and I told her, I said, I wrote her a note, and I said, I will live. I had deep faith. I had a faith in God, and I fought back from that. So the reason I'm telling you that long-winded story, the doctor told Amanda, take him home, get him stronger, bring him back. We're probably going to have to operate on this chest. And when I went back, 2 days after I came home, I was sitting at this same desk I'm at right now, 2 days. And when I went back 2 weeks later to the hospital to see this doctor, he threw his pen across the desk and said, I never seen anybody bounce back that quick. He doesn't need surgery. The risk of surgery doesn't outweigh the benefit it would give him because he's already back and he doesn't require surgery. So the shots that you're asking about, the hardest one I've ever done is mustard seeds, and I do it. And believe it or not, the smaller the targets, the better my accuracy because the eyes zone in.
Okay.
I went to a show and it took me 99 shots to hit the peel. The audience left. I mean, the audience was gone. They left. I wouldn't quit. I would not quit shooting. In 40 years, I've never left the stage without hitting my target. Typically 3 or 4 shots and we're done. This particular show, it was 99 attempts. And 100th era hits the peel. It was an accident, but it hit the peel. And so I was in a funk. Kind of like a Tiger Woods type deal, I guess, mentally. And if you remember, Tiger changed his swing, he changed his club, he changed his coach, he changed his caddy, changed everything.
Yeah.
Well, it needed tightened up. It wasn't the physical. So I had a friend of mine was Dr. John McCallum. He was my neighbor. He said, I'm going to bring a guy to meet you. And I said, who is this? And he said, it's Dr. Wyatt Woodsmall. He's an expert at neuro-linguistic programming. He's one of the founding fathers. I said, I don't even know what that is. He said, well, he'll explain it. Yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, neuro-linguistic programming is a mental coach. He's a mental coach. And he basically taught me how to be on my A game all the time. And he teaches you an anchor. Basically, he said to me, Frank, you're in a funk, but let's forget about that. Let's take a walk. He set me down on a bench. And he said, do you remember a show where you hit the baby aspirin the first shot? I do. He said, tell me about that show. I described where the show was. I described who all I saw in the audience, who all was there. A lady from a certain newspaper interviewed me. She had a red dress. What I could hear, what I could see. He had a vivid detail of the day. And he said, now, how long is that baby aspirin in midair? And I said, well, seems like 30 seconds. He said, well, it's actually only a couple seconds.
Yeah, let's say you got to be like 3.
But he said, I work with Greg Louganis, the diver, and when his toes leave that board, he feels like he's in the air for a minute, but he's only a few seconds. He said, any athlete at their peak moment of their sport, their brain physically slows down.
Right.
So he said, what I want you to do is you take yourself back to that show. So we're not here at your dad's store on a Sunday. We're at that show. Now let's walk up to the target. And he handed me my bow, gave me an arrow. My thrower threw the baby aspirin. I went behind the back and it went into pieces. First shot.
I mean, yeah, it's like we're always getting in our own way, at times, man. Like,
right.
It's just how it is. Well, you've traveled all over, man. Now we're going to get down to some food part of this here. We need to get some opinions, feedback. You're down in the great state of Texas now. You're from West Virginia. You've been to all over. Where's your favorite foodie city that you get to go to that you really look forward to doing?
You got to understand, I like mom and pop restaurants, family owned. Chains I try to avoid.
Yeah,
really. We wouldn't expect anything less. We're not Applebee's here.
Down at like where I live, believe it or not, San Antonio has about 4,000 restaurants. 4,000. Now, where I eat and where my wife wants to cheat, I would call Dave Milam's. There's a place called Mi Familia. There's a place in Montana. I think it's Great Falls. Or no, Missoula. Lolo Creek Steakhouse in Missoula, Montana. I think they cook with what's called larchwood, and it was really good. But in my opinion, nothing beats a mesquite. I cook a filet on mesquite, and it sweetens that meat. And I do a Pittsburgh style rare, so I get a crunch on the outside. I build a real mesquite fire, real wood, real fire. Get those steaks singed, and then cut it, and it's rare. So you got this crunchy exterior with that mesquite smoke, and then that center's raw, not raw but rare. Anyway,
I forgot about Pittsburgh style, man. I forgot about that.
I use butter. I'll use butter to get it. You get that steak. Mm-hmm. I want it crunchy, and then that center's a nice, cool center.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I don't know.
That's how I used to order them, boys. Exactly like that.
I can't do it, Frank. I can't do that cool red center, man. I
got scared. Dave Milam sent me to a place in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Doe's Eat Place. And he said, Junior, get the bone-in filet. And he knows I eat it rare. Mm-hmm. Dude, it was cold near the bone. I don't mean it was cool. I mean, it was like cold. And I said, well, if I'm going to die, this is the way to go.
Right.
I ate every bite. If you trust your meat source.
Right.
Now what I won't do. Now, I'll tell you something else I do. I'll tell you what I do and won't do. I won't do raw hamburger like in Wisconsin. I don't do that. Mm-hmm. But I will do calf fries all day long, Rocky Mountain oysters. I'll eat those till the cows come home. They are so good. You ever had them?
Mm-mm.
I would try them, but I've never been an opportunity to have them, actually.
They thin slice them, bread them, deep fry them, and then you stick them in horseradish. But you have to eat them fresh. Dave Lockman with the Weatherby Foundation got me eating those. And we were in Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming, Po' Boys. And my God, they were good. Well, we were going on a hunt a couple years later in Gillette, Wyoming. And I told Dave, hey, stop at Po' Boys and bring us some Rocky Mountain oysters. Didn't think about it. Mm-hmm. So they a cooler in the back of his car on ice for 2 days. They were so rubbery, it was like chewing gum. And I said, never again. They were horrible. So you got to eat them fresh.
Fresh as dust.
I mean, if I'm going to try them, I want the A game.
You're right. I want
the 100%. That is valuable information.
I like Thai food. I like spicy. Down here at Mi Familia, they cook. It's not on the menu, but they have. It's called Cameroon's Diabla, shrimp from the devil.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they scrape this off the gates of hell. It's so spicy. It'll send. I had a buddy who was in Spain. He said, "You're not going to eat that, are you?" I said, "Absolutely, I'm going to eat it." And oh my God, it was good. I eat it about once a week.
Yeah, we would get along just fine eating together, Frank.
But it's got to have flavor. It can't just.
No, it has to have flavor.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You just pump heat at me. I have to be able to taste goodness there too.
Yeah, numb is not a flavor profile I aim to go for. So yeah, a little bit of something with it makes sense. Yeah. David Johnsy, what else you guys got here for Frank?
I don't know where else we can go. I just appreciate him sharing everything he shared. It's like I don't know.
Frank, have you ever missed an animal in the wild?
Oh yes, yes.
Okay.
Heck,
Had to
I mean,
ask. I mean,
Well, we weren't gonna bring him out like that, bro.
well, I mean, you shoot at baby aspirin. I mean, behind
I
the
mean,
back.
I thought about it too, but I wasn't gonna call the
I
man
thought
out.
early,
Well, no.
the success rate in the woods was good.
Here's the deal. Any man that like if I quit getting buck fever and getting excited, I'd quit hunting.
Exactly.
So I watched my dad. My dad's like Superman. My mom, Tony, killed 20 black bears with a bow. She killed her 20th bear at age 72.
Wow. I remember that. It was a nice sized bear too.
500 pounds. Yeah, Nugent was on the hunt with her and my dad. And so my dad snaps a picture with Ted and my mom and this big bear with her bow. And he calls her the bear whacking woman. So
I remember that.
Bear whacking woman. Love it.
Bear whacking woman.
I've never seen my dad. I've never seen my dad miss an animal with hair or feather. I've seen him shoot blackbirds off the porch of our shop, 90 yards, and hit the bird. So I bring him to King Ranch down here in South Texas. Now this is the largest ranch in America. It's got 825,000 acres. You've heard of the King Ranch Fords. I mean, that's where
yeah.
So I do shows for the owners, and they've invited me to hunt a time or two. And so I invite my dad and bring him. Well, this is low fence. It's not a high fence deal. It's not a canned hunt.
Okay.
It's basically the size of Rhode Island, this ranch. It's huge. And he saw 200 record book deer in 2 days. And we were driving around, and in Texas, in this brush, you do it two ways. You put corn feeders out, and you set in a blind and wait for them to come to the corn, or you drive around and spot and stalk them.
Yeah.
It's not like West Virginia, Ohio, where you climb a tree and wait. Down in South Texas, there's no trees big enough to do that. And it's so thick, you'd have to cut senderos, lanes through the brush. It's just a lot different hunting. And my dad was mad. He had his arms crossed. And I said, "What's wrong, Dad?" And he said, "This is road hunting." I said, "We're traveling hundreds of miles a day because this ranch is so big. We're looking for a buck, and then you can spot and stalk him." I said, "We're still hunting." He goes, "What do you mean still hunting?" I said, "Well, the guy turned the radio off. We're still hunting." So he didn't like it. He didn't find humor in that. But so we get this country boy. My dad's this West Virginia born and bred. Get him out of the truck. This buck was huge. And my dad draws that bow. I said, "Man, that buck's going to look beautiful in his store." That arrow went right over the back of that buck. He had buck fever bigger than life. And if my dad can miss, anybody on this earth can miss.
Right.
I have missed. Luckily, I've never. If I shoot at a deer with a bow, I either kill it or I miss it. I mean, that's luckily.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I miss.
There's nothing worse than hitting one and not finding it till days later, and it's too late. That's a rough day.
Yeah, I try to encourage people. Bow hunting is supposed to be a close sport, and so many people watch these videos of these guys, and even if they can do it, they shouldn't put it on video because either those guys have the strength to have the heavy tackle or they practice at long distance. I think the average person, 20 to 30 yards with a bow is perfect. I mean, I wouldn't think that you want to go much past that. I mean, I know people that have.
Yeah.
Well, what is that one? It's like Relentless Pursuit Outdoors, where they're always doing like that, like heave ho type archery, where they're doing like 300 yard shots across mountains and stuff.
I've seen people on trophy elk walk away at 65 yards. He's like, "Dude, I just can't guarantee that shot." And that's at 65 yards. It doesn't even seem that far. But it's ethic. It's just all about your ethics on hunting and what's more important. I guess.
Gentlemen, we've talked about everything under the sun this interview. It's been fun. We talked about what I want people to take away from is none of us are perfect. We're all flawed, and we fall short. If it wasn't for His grace, none of us we don't go to heaven without His grace because Billy Graham didn't have the ability to go into heaven without the grace and, but having the disability, hopefully, maybe there's someone out there that has autism or a child with autism or mental or physical handicap or disability. And God isn't done with that person. That's what I've always tried to tell these kids in the audience. God isn't done just because you have a disability. That's not an excuse not to be active. That's not an excuse not to get in the game and to give it your best. There's a talent in that person. We just got to find it and then contribute. And Mac Brown is a dear friend of mine. I've done several shows for Mac and the football coach. And, he's one of the best people around young people I've ever seen. And he develops them on the field as football players, but he also develops them off the field and makes them better men. And by the way, Huggins used to give me a grief when Mac was at Tony, when you had me do that show, Coach Huggins was there, and I had Mac Brown had given me a hat, and he was on the dash of my Suburban. And Huggins, I'll never forget this as long as I live. Huggins goes, "Leave that Texas shit in your car."
Yeah, that sounds like Bobby.
I loved that guy. I loved him. I loved Coach Huggins. He was a super. He was very nice to me. Good guy.
He's very awesome. Yeah, I remember I was in his house once, and I was like, man, I should not be in this guy's house right now. And he's in there making steakums for the family before a big game. He's in there in the kitchen making everybody steakums, and he looks at me and he goes, "Who do you know?" Like, why are you in my house? And I was like, I'm with your nephew. I'm just here. Like, hi.
Just here for a steak sandwich.
And I was like trying to be like, your name? Like, I just trying to, like, I didn't want to be that guy. So, yeah, I just tried to, like, yeah, who are you? Like, yeah. We all
Tony.
Man.
Man.
Well, Frank, man, we're gonna wrap this up here, but again, just an absolute great just to catch up with you. And and I knew the gist of your story, and I appreciate you sharing what you shared, man. That was just a great conversation. And
amazing.
I mean, it just goes to show, like, just whatever you want to work hard, you can do it. You can do it. And obstacles are just those, there's things that you can just easily overcome, and I appreciate you just sharing that story. And I pray that somebody hears it on this show and they get something out of it. And if we affect one person, then, hey, look at us. Right.
Tony, I was going to tell you, my life, I've been lucky because God's put me in the path of good mentors. My dad and my mom, Stacy Grosscup, Dick Mock, Earl Hoyt, Fred Bear, Mac Brown, George Strait. I mean,
right.
All these different people, and they've all played a role. And, when I was little, I thought everybody should dress like George Strait. You should start your shirts and start your jeans. And I grew up dressed that way. It's so funny. But he these guys that get on airplanes looking like they rolled out of bed. I'm old school, dude. I fly. I have a sport coat on I have jeans and boots, but I put a sport coat. And these guys get on in their pajamas. I'm like, come on, guys. And that's the thing, we as men, we need to hold ourselves to a higher degree of, write handwritten notes. Thank your buddies. Thank your people. Write them a little note and carry yourself because people are watching and you want to make it. Be gentle. Have manners.
That's right.
Open doors. Pull out chairs, man. Do it.
Put yourself out on the curb. Keep your lady on the inside,
That's a huge one to me.
I'm not going to lie. My wife had to teach me that one. I thought I knew all of it because my mom was real big on it, and my mom didn't even teach me that one. So I felt bad for my mom because I felt like
I literally point that out going down the road. I'm like, you see that? Bad move.
Traveler, what bothered me a lot with these young men who we'd get on, like, the airports that have these people movers, you get on one to go to another gate, and a little old lady would step on, and these guys would be looking at their iPhone, and they didn't even look up, and this lady doesn't have a place to sit. I cannot sit if there's a lady standing. I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
You pop up and you stand
no.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't. They're in their pajamas and they're looking at their phone. I'm thinking to myself, come on, guys, shape up.
Heaven help us now.
There it is. There's the running thing. We had to sneak one line in there. We had to get one in. But everybody, if Frank Addington, FrankAddingtonJr.com. Frank, where else can anyone else find you? See where you're playing at upcoming shows. Red carpet.
Yeah, just Google it. Typically, Tony, when COVID hit, I find a new gig. I'm selling ranches in Texas, only because for a year and a half I had 0 shows.
That's crazy.
So I'm either selling ranches or shooting bows, and there is not. I've had 2 of the best non-jobs in the world. I got to admit
it. That's awesome.
Can't beat it.
If you ever need some creative marketing at a ranch to show the versatility of a property, we're available to come, put something together.
I got one that's 87,000 acres. Yeah. You guys would have a blast on that.
Jeez, man.
Oh,
can you hold that for us?
Yeah. Where was that at again? I mean,
put that on layaway right now.
Let me get a letter of pre-approval for you to show you I'm a serious buyer.
87 million ain't much if you say it real fast.
Right. I mean, that's all we need, Tony.
Well, I mean, with the world of terms, and and if I take the American government approach, I'll just defer it down the road. I mean, anything's possible now.
Got it figured out. Look at him.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I'm going to step away from that one.
As the old saying goes, scared money don't make money.
Tony, you know how we end our shows? I'll end this interview with how we end our shows.
Okay.
Perfect.
And this is what we tell the kids. God said to build a better world, and I said, how? The world's such a cold, dark place, and it's so complicated now. I'm so young and useless, there's nothing I can do. God, in all his wisdom, said, build a better you.